guys, Nassim here. Now, I've been using the iPad mini for about 5 months now, and after using it for an extended amount of time, there was one statement that kept coming to my mind whenever I was using my iPad mini. And that statement is, I think that the iPad mini 6 is the perfect tablet for anyone who wants a powerful tablet that you can take anywhere with you.
And I say that because when you think about it, the iPad mini 6 is just as powerful as the iPad Air 4, it's just as fast as the iPad Air 4, and it has the same exact software as the iPad Air 4. But one advantage that I will give to the iPad mini 6 is that it is much more pocketable and portable than any tablet in the iPad lineup. And that is a major reason why I feel the iPad mini 6 can have the ultimate advantage when compared to other iPads. And for the people who work in the restaurant business, in the medical field, in the sports industry, in the corporate world, or even school, I feel like this is the perfect iPad for you and can possibly make your day more productive. You can keep notes, look at plays, jot stuff down, and even browse the web for whenever you need to know something related to your job or school. And even though you can do all of that on the iPad Air 4 and iPad Air Pro, I feel like the iPad mini 6 will definitely be easier because in a lot of those fields, you'll be able to move around more efficiently than if you were to carry around a bigger iPad. And that's the reason as to why I love the iPad mini so much, because I was able to do anything that I wanted, anywhere that I wanted to do it.
And this leads me into the first thing that I loved about my iPad mini 6 after 5 months of use, and that's the amazing screen.
Now the iPad mini 6 has an 8.3-inch liquid retina display that I must say really surprised me after my extended time of using it. Like, I can remember when I first got my iPad mini, I thought the display size would hinder the experience, but I turned out to be very wrong. The display size definitely enhanced my experience because I would do things like play video games, surf the web, and even jot notes down, and I can honestly say that it gave me a very similar experience to the bigger iPads. The screen resolution was still amazing, the build quality was very stable, and the vibrancy and brightness was still top notch, which ended up leaving me very satisfied overall. I also love the fact that whenever I was outside, the brightness held up because when it came to a lot of other tablets, I often found myself having to find shade because the display wasn't holding up well. But with the iPad mini 6, I would say that if you are someone who thinks that the screen won't be big enough for you, then I would say to try it out in person because it might leave you surprised like me. And to show you guys what I mean, here are some examples of me watching movies and playing video games.
Nassim here. Now, after using the Pixel 6 Pro for about 3 months now, there was one word that kept coming to my mind whenever I thought about my use with this device. And that simple yet effective word is bugs. Now, the next thing that I loved about my iPad mini after 5 months of use was the amazing battery.
Now, when it came to my everyday use with the iPad mini 6, I would say that when it came to battery, this was by far one of the best tablets that I had ever had. Like, I would average around 3 to 5 hours of on-screen time a day and would usually end my day with about 40% battery left, which was pretty amazing for a tablet with a smaller battery. I would use up the battery by doing things like watching movies, playing video games, and even getting some work done on my free time, and that's why the iPad mini 6's battery impressed me so much, because it gave me the same times as the other iPads, but it was much more limited and portable, resulting in a great iPad to carry around whenever I went to work. I was also very impressed with the charge times because there were situations where I forgot to charge my iPad the night before I went to work and would wake up and charge it while I was getting ready. And by the time I was done, it would charge from 3% to 78% within an hour and 15 minutes and was still able to last me throughout the whole day. There were also times where I would charge it up to 100% right before I went to sleep because of how fast it was able to charge.
Now, the next thing that I loved about my iPad mini 6 after 5 months of use was the pretty great software.
And that was one thing that I really liked about the iPad OS for many years now. The fact that Apple took time to build up the software so that it doesn't just look like a stretched out version of the iPhone. And also the fact that they still were able to incorporate widgets into the OS and not make it buggy or look weird. Like right here, you can see that I have widgets on my iPad mini and they look very clean, very slick, and also very useful. I also love the fact that every app ran smooth. Like, as you can see here, I'm casually scrolling through the OS and it feels just as smooth as any other iPhone or iPad in the lineup. I never got any bugs, I never got any lags, and every time there was a software update, I never had to deal with any new problems like on a lot of other tablets. I also really liked that I was still able to FaceTime my friends, I was still able to message whoever I wanted, and I was still able to answer phone calls, which came in handy whenever I had my iPhone in the same house, but didn't feel like getting it. And it was the simple things like that that made the iPad mini 6's software really nice for me. I can still get that premium iPad OS experience with much more portability.
Now, the next thing that I loved about my iPad mini 6 after 5 months of use was the pretty surprisingly great cameras.
And even though most people don't take a lot of photos on their iPad, I still wanted to show you the camera quality if you were interested in using a camera. Like right here, when we look at the daytime photos, we can see that the pictures came out very vibrant, the skies were clear, my face was color accurate, and the aspect of nature looked very fresh even though the pictures were from an iPad. And when we look at the nighttime photos, I would say that these were a little more grainy than the daytime ones, but they were still pretty great when it came to quality. The skies were a little off but weren't terrible, my face still looked pretty color accurate, and the sharpness was definitely something that I can see on mid-range phones. And when it came to video quality, I would say that this is where the iPad mini really shined. The sharpness was great, the vibrancy and the colors were very realistic, and there were even times where I shot video on my iPad mini whenever the timing was right. And to give you guys an idea of what I mean, here are some examples of videos that I took on my iPad mini.
And alright you guys, now the last thing that I loved about my iPad mini 6 after 5 months of use was the pretty great speakers.
Now the speakers on the iPad mini were surprisingly good to me since I wasn't expecting anything from them due to its smaller size, but whenever I would watch a movie or a YouTube video, I would turn the volume up and they gave me a greater experience than I expected. The bass was high, the loudness was great, and the quality of sound was superb. And to give you guys an idea of what I mean, I decided to show you a speaker test and show you how great these speakers are.
And there it is you guys, my final review of the iPad mini 6 after 5 months of use. Now let me know down in the comments, do you think that the iPad mini 6 is worth getting over any other tablet in the iPad lineup? Let me know.
And if you guys made it to the end of this video, I would like to say thank you for sticking around, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it will be very appreciated. And as far as social media, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.